Okay. All right, we good to go?
Yep.
Is that everything? Is that everyone that's coming?
No, they'll probably be rolling in here between now and quarter after.
Okay, just go ahead and go.
They got a routine.
Okay, sounds good. All right, well, thanks again for putting up with me last time, hopefully here. We're going to roll through some of the pictures here, and I put a lot of video in here because I feel like, pictures really and video will really tell the story of everything we were doing. So I have a little bit of backtracking, showing some of the pictures from the overall process. Trying to take 6-7 months worth of work and whittle it down to 45 minutes is really, really hard. But let's just get going here. So a couple of the things that we're going to go over is the structural conditions that we addressed, the pre-restoration conditions, some of the first video that we took in October of 2025, main area, after restoration, before and after photos, and then the addendum area, before and after restoration. So the broken ornaments, and that what you see right here is an example of this. And then the broken truss beam, plated with steel, as the structural engineer recommended, and then the wood beams that were reinforced above the ceiling, which is a very small project. Okay, so we backtrack a little bit here. We can see Chris is really pleased with this in this photo here. This was when, we had an incident with the scaffolding company, and all this was covered. If you remember in May of, was it May of 25? We had covered everything so you guys could get back in here and worship safely. And this got bumped. We found out how hollow these things are, but they're very heavy. And the one that you see here is, I think it's around 40 pounds. I think it's like 37, 38 pounds. So this was a challenge. As soon as we got on the job, that we had to restore this. Go ahead. The scaffolding company did pay for that. They ended up paying me a couple of months later, and it all worked out. But here's some of the conditions. This picture right here is actually this ornament. So when I got up top and I was able to see this, there was a separation there. And if you can see the threaded rod that's right there, there was no physical nut up in there where this was tightened down. I think they just spun it into a hole in between two pieces of wood. So as this was loose, initially I thought I can shim it up, try to strengthen it, put some screws into it. The whole thing dropped on me. And so once that dropped, I knew that I had a model then. It was like a gift from heaven. It was a model to be able to replace the other one that was broken and to make another one. So if we go to the next one here. Oh, we got videos, so you can see this. You can see how that's up in there.
AV area. And this is the ornament right here that has a little bit of movement to it. It actually just slightly moves. So our plan is to put some blocking in here, put some adhesive in here.
That was the plan.
And run a few screws up through, pre-drill.
And this is directly above where the black baby grand piano is. So.
Loose and was not ever attached to the framework. It doesn't even look like it pulled away. It looks like there was no.
A lot of times we saw that. You can see how that lathing did not attach. And so there was just, an opening there and it was moving, and, it's just a structural deficiencies. Once this came down, this is what we saw. And this is all the way back in October. Keep going, Logan. You see straight up here, you see how two pieces of wood come together and then that was split. So even the way it was put together back in the day wasn't really the best. So I think you might be able to play some videos here, Logan. Okay. So once we did that, you know what, Logan, jump back to the last one, last frame there. Can you go back? So obviously we can see our ornament here. We can see right here. Can you click on this one? Is that a picture, or is that just a photo? You can see how this is a board that's probably about 1 inch wide. So a lot of times when we look at the plaster work up above, we think oh, this is big, heavy timber and everything. But really, it's wood boards with lath that is built out to make it look more chunky and big. But that's pretty much what it was going into. That threaded rod was almost splitting the wood. So over time, it loosened. But you talk about a 40-pound ornament dropping straight down from maybe about 37 feet. Really, really thankful that that did not drop. And this was the area that, Chris, you initially called us on. So go ahead and go to the next one. So then we're in the mode of how do we replace the one that was broken by the scaffolding company and also make a replica for the one that fell down that we can attach really well. So this is the molding process. Now this was all work that the scaffolding company actually paid for. And in our line of work, we get into, you can turn it down a little bit. We get into replicating ornamentation on the outside of buildings, on the inside. And essentially what we have to do, you can go to the next one, is build a form where if you imagine, if we built a box and then poured liquid rubber in there, we wouldn't be able to get the rubber off of that ornament because of all the undercuts on the ornament. So we literally have to split it in half. Those little buttons right there, I hot glued nuts on there so that the form can come together as two pieces and key together properly. And then we built a box. We're putting layers on of, you can go to the next picture. We put layers on of release agent because when you pour this liquid rubber in, and this is actually a company over in Macungie called Smooth On, and all of the big Disney movies, the Marvel movies, have been made through this company. So that's the company that we were trained on. I was trained on in the 1990s to do this type of work. But you can see here, you can click on that one. Is that a video? I'm pouring the liquid rubber in on one side, and you have to wait overnight. And after that side is done, I think you might be able to click on this one then. You can see how it comes out as half right there. My daughter Sophia she's putting the release agent on so that then when we put the next rubber block in, it doesn't bond to the original one and we can take it apart. So you can go to the next one. So this is split. You can see how we created that form. And actually this one being loose was a real blessing in disguise because I would have had to make a brush-on rubber mold, which is much more difficult to make. And so we were able to make a really nice form, and that form is down in your basement. It'll be down there forever. It's extremely heavy. It probably weighs it's over 100 pounds, I would say, of thick rubber. Then on the inside here, which one moves? Do they both move? Okay, this one. So what did we make the ornament out of? We made the ornament not out of traditional plaster like this, which is extremely heavy, but we used what's called glass fiber reinforced gypsum. So gypsum, think of sort of like drywall. It's a type of plaster, but what we did was we put fiberglass mesh in there. So then you're reducing the amount of plaster and you have more of a lightweight unit. So this was the product that Smooth On recommended, and you can see how I cast in wood pieces in there with a threaded rod and integrated a frame on the inside of it, so it's completely solid. There's no way that that's coming apart. So you can go to the next one. You can see here, I put in a picture to show the two weight differences. This one weighs 30 pounds and this one weighed 38 pounds. So the original, so we were able to reduce it by, maybe, what would that be, almost like a fourth or something. So now, putting it up, the one that Beth Allen broke was complicated because this portion right there was a rod that was coming straight down through from the upper framing up above. And we had to leave this nut was actually cast into the ornament itself. So the lower part right here is solid plaster. And the nut was fixed down in there, and I could not physically remove that without shaking the whole rod system. So Logan, I don't know if you can click on any of this. Does that move as a video? They're photos? Okay. So right here, the way we had good framing in here. This is the original framing. What I was able to do was put angled brackets in here, tie straight up in, and then attach to those wood blocking and attach to that screws and make it all one solid piece for attachment points. Then I cast a new piece and slipped an entire new casting over top of this portion. I also, you can see these white blocks up here. That's like it's like a plastic AZEK board type block. Those were glued and carefully screwed into the plaster down below. So we were able to get attachment points here and attachment points up above. And remember, this is very lightweight, but we were able to get multiple attachment points all the way around that. And that was a really great repair for that. You can see here how it came together. My daughter is painting it up there. That was kind of a hybrid repair that we had to do, but it came together really well. And honestly, it's attached a lot better than originally. Now, Sophia really worked hard on this paint color. I have a slide towards the end where we basically matched, we could not commercially get that paint color. I tried all kinds of paint stores, even Sherwin-Williams, other paint stores. So I had to order different metallic paint from online and then combine different ratios so we could get this exact color match. And we did. We do have that recipe now as well. So the one that we had to recast that fell down, this is the area by the piano, right? You can see we're in the middle of putting the plaster up. We recast a total piece. You can see the threaded rod right there. And we'll go to the next picture. How did we attach this? So I really wanted to make sure this was super strong, take away any doubt that this could ever come down. These are timber screws right there. And they are probably, I don't know, 7 or 8 inches long. They're really heavy duty. These are multiple 4-inch deck screws right here. This all goes into the framing that we could get into the solid framing there. And then the ornament, I was actually able to twist the ornament directly on. So it's a really good threaded fixed point right here. Then I also put multiple screws in going all the way around. And those are 6-inch long timber screws into this framing. Each one I pre-drilled, took them in nice and slow. And you can see here some of those screws verified that they went in. We were getting into the good blocking there. So, and that's the replaced casting there. I mean, it's not cleaned up yet. You'll see the finished pictures there at the end. Here's a little bit of a finished picture when it was completed. And it's still kind of shiny because we had just painted it. You want to go back to that one, Logan? There you go. I think you could turn up the volume a little bit. I do a little explanation here. Yeah, there you go. Maybe I don't. Okay. All right. You guys get the drift. There's the finished, some of the finished ornament right there. So, anybody have any questions on those ornaments? Oh, Logan, go back one. Let me just see. Did I put this in? Yes, I did. Okay. So, you see these arrows right here? It's not really picking up real well. Maybe I'll kick the lights off. Maybe that would help. Is it okay sitting in the dark here? Okay. Can you see this wire coming around here? Coming all the way up. There's a wire that wraps around. It's a 1/16 of an inch stainless steel wire. And we wrapped around the ornament, and then we put wires that go up and connect up here. So this is like a mini cable system. As I talked with Chris about it and Father Bryce, said, well, what do we do about the other ones? Because we know there's some deficiencies there. What can we do to have redundancy to ensure that one doesn't drop in, 20, 30 years, 40 years, who knows? So we came up with this idea to put this wire going around. The wire can hold like 800 pounds, so it's much stronger than this. So we went around and we went around the upper part as well, and then we ran 2 cables and we pinched all that together. We painted it, so you can't even see it from down below because it's so fine. But as you know, cable is extremely strong. So that's something that, a little detail that we added. You can also see in this picture here the replacement lights, and those were mounted not on plaster, but we integrated a plastic board in there for good mounting position, because previous electricians had just drilled into the plaster, and the problem is you have lath, you have airspace there. Now you're trying to hang something on empty cavities. So we wanted to give a good place there. Yeah.
Did you secure the one over the pulp or leave it just kind of loose?
So that one there, like I said, I wired it up. It's got a little button, and just to keep you on it. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, so that one, actually, Bryce's over the pulpit, at some point along the way, that one did have a problem, and they replaced it with wood, and it was a wooden one. And someone had used brass plates or brass, I don't know, metal or something. Is that what it looked like? Bronze plates, sheet metal, and they put it on. So that one we kind of didn't mess with too much, but so let's go to the next one. So when we talk about structural repairs, the broken truss beam plated with steel is recommended by the engineer. So where are we right here? Because we could be anywhere in the church. Okay, this is on the addendum area. So this isn't on the main area. This is towards the back of the church. We had been walking around, and remember Bryce, he was looking up and he's saying, what about that bit? What about that bit? Well, this was one of the bits that we saw from down below, and it just looked like a crack, right? When we got up there, we started to diagnose the patient a little bit more and found out there was actually a broken beam in there. So this is the 1824 section. And this isn't the section like we repaired last year that had multiple built up dimensional lumber. This had a big, like a barn beam. So the lower cord of the truss was flexing so much that it was splitting in half because there was an old mortise in there. So there was an old mortise that someone had cut off the tenon when the ceiling level was lower. They cut the tenon off and there was a hole. Well, that was cracking straight through. So we had to take the plaster off in this area and then put steel plates on either side. I got a detail from the engineer. Here you can see if this shows up. Can you turn it up, Logan? So this is with a bore scope. I don't know what that little dangly thing was there, but something. Look at this crack.
See that?
See the mortise?
It looks like it's deflected and split.
Surprisingly, it doesn't seem to have deflected that much. Something that's that broken.
I think it probably deflected several inches, I would think.
Really?
Yeah. I know the one last year was deflected 7 inches. The next one over looked like it was maybe it was like 2.5, something like that. It's hard to tell with the plaster, but it deflected enough that it split the plaster in that area. So what did we do? Once we saw this, we knew exactly what to do because we had just done this the previous year. So we took the lath off and we steel plated it. First we jammed wood in there, tried to fill up as many voids as we could. Then we got a detail from the engineer. Are any of these pictures, Logan? Are they videos at all? Not sure. Oh, here you go. So you can see this. Was that flipped around? Maybe I had that out of order. So imagine a barn, and when you have the mortise and tenon joinery in a barn, this is the way the old ceiling looked. And there was a beam that came in like this. And at some point they said, let's get rid of this beam and let's make the ceiling vaulted, probably in 1870s. And so they just cut this off and they left this hole in here. They didn't plate it or anything. So over time, this creates a deficiency that went all the way around, and that passed all the way to the other side too. So you saw how we plated it. After it was plated, then we put the lath on, the mesh. We did the same process that we've been doing all along, pushing the pushing the plaster into that mesh and also into the lath work. So this is just a short video of that. How are we doing on slides? Where are we at? Okay, so this picture here, whenever we're doing this type of work, it's multiple stages. You see how we have this dated? So we're putting our first coat on, which is what you just saw. It gets scratched. Then we put the second coat on, and then that gets scarified like this. Then after that sits for another week or 10 days, we put the finished white coat on. And then after that's done, it disappears. So you can go ahead and hit play on that. Any of those play? No? Okay. All right. But yeah, that's where the area is right there. Anybody have any questions along the way? Just shoot them out. Okay. Now we're upstairs. This is, you can click on this. I think it's a video. That's the beam we put in last year on the north side. And it still looked great. Didn't go anywhere. This is what we had discovered when we went up top. Some of the joinery, this is like the up above the ceiling, was actually pulling apart in this area. And so we talked to the structural engineer about it. He said the best thing to do would be to plate this again. You can use wood. But what we did was we filled it in with oak pieces. You can see this here. Glued it in with glued and timber screw and Gorilla Glue, which expands. We put some white oak in there, and then right over top of that, timber screws and plate it straight down. But that's been like that for quite some time. Another thing is do you see the strapping here? So this is the truss we worked on last year. And when Scott Gold came back for the last inspection, we went up top, took a look at everything, and he said, what happens is the lower cord right here that's coming through, they actually, because they were raising the ceiling and they were trying to create the whole area on the altar side, they cut a main beam coming through here. So that means all that, the one that was deflected 7 inches last year was relying on that lower cord that was having a problem. So the engineer wanted us to put in some extra wood right here, screw it in so that we could get this truss work working together again. So just some simple repairs upstairs that we needed to do, but it helps to reinforce what's been there. And it's interesting when you're up there because you see repairs like that have been done through the years. So we're going to go to, that's as far as structure goes, that's sort of the structural repairs that we did. Head to the next. So these are preconditions. This is a little bit of recap from last year. First thing we did was we protected everything, put plastic over all the pews. We were trying to control everything as much as we possibly could. I used really good tools on this. We used Fest tools hooked up to HEPA vacuums. Every time we worked, we had plastic walls, and we confined our workspaces, worked during the day, cleaned up, wiped everything down. But I was so concerned before the scaffolding was even built. I was so concerned of everything because it's so ornate. It's like working in a museum. So I went over to Lowe's and bought all the carpet padding I possibly could and just started covering everything. We had everything covered in there.
And it was greatly appreciated, believe me.
Oh, well, that's good. Yeah, I'm glad that everything was okay down below. So this is some of the conditions. This is before we did anything. This is October. This is right above Bryce and John where he plays the organ. This is directly over the organist. I'll just let this kind of play. And if you start to get seasick, just let me know.
You have to diagnose each one of those little cracks, see how far you had to then go to repair that?
Yeah, and basically the diagnosis, I think, had to be, if something is loose, we had to take it down. If it was a finer crack, we chased it back and we filled it in. We didn't want to disturb more than what we needed to. But generally, when something was loose, the plaster was sort of telling you it's not nailed in correctly, the lathing isn't there, or there's something else going on. So yeah, it was every area we had to diagnose like that. So this is some more. Is this video or pictures? Pictures. You want to go back? Yeah, this is above Bryce. This is the wooden one I was telling you about. This is not our repair. I'm just letting you know. But that was the standard we had to get up to. And then you can see over here, right above where the pulpit is, how much material was just hanging there. So to answer your question, you walk up to something like that, it comes right off. Obviously, we worked this whole area. We chased all this and then just rebuilt this whole area till we got back to something that was firm. And that's how we had to handle those situations. This is that other area we were talking about before this ornament came down. You can see how loose the plasterwork is here, some of these areas up in here. Is that a video, Logan, or is that a picture? Picture, okay. Okay, this is over the piano area, I believe.
No, this is north side.
North side, I'm sorry, yep, you're right.
So most of these problems are in the transept area?
Yeah, all of these were.
All of them?
Yeah,
As opposed to the
Yeah.
original church?
right, yeah, this was all the transept. This is where we were working primarily. Yeah, this is the north side. I'm sorry, I can't even read my own writing up there. This is above the baptistry area there. So this is the baptismal fonts on this side. This wall right here was having an issue. This is brick. You can see this is an area where a roof leak had happened. All of this, we had to repair all of this. We had so much work to do when we got there that we went after the large areas first. And then as we worked, we went to the finer areas. But we wanted to get all the heavy lime plastering, all the patching done first. So go ahead and go to the next one.
All that stuff you're showing there, the large ornamental woodwork, was that like assembled on the floor and originally and then put back up? Or?
No. Are you talking about the rosettes and things, all that? No. They are all the rosettes themselves. So it's wood boards. And then what they did was they cast in 4 pieces. They would cast the 4 areas of the rosette. And then they pretty much glued them on with plaster and sometimes a nail. And that's about it. And then they would plaster the inside. Right in here is all plastered by hand. So it's a combination of castings and then plaster. So it's not like they made it as one unit and pulled it up. It's all site built. It was all done on site. I think one of the things about this is that when you have decades of movement and you have all these individual pieces cobbled together in there, and you have heavy plaster and you have no control joints like you do on a modern building, things are going to move and they're going to crack. I mean, it's just, the building is going to flex over time. And especially if there's buildings being taken down or other things happening, it can all affect it. This is on the north side above the baptismal font. And this area here was completely hollow inside. So we had to take all that down. I'll show all the afters. You can see obviously the ceiling panels, the cracking that was going on there. we've seen. Okay, so now we're starting to open it up. You can see some of these areas. You can see how we had to work. You know, we're Tyvek suits, we're respirators, we're working in these small areas, we're wiping everything up, we're cleaning up every day. Yeah, this is an area. So this area is extremely bad. That was part of the laughing that we had fixed. But you can see the deterioration that was happening here. Is that a video? Yep. See how we're opening it up to the laughing, and eventually then we start putting the mesh over top of everything. You can see there was missing areas of lath up in there. We had to secure all that and get that all strong so that we could even put plaster back. See how we open this up? Pause. I don't know if you can pause that, Logan. So this area, you see the nailers right here? And you see the lath? There was no lath here. So this was just suspended in air. So what we did was we put lath back in, and then over top of that we put mesh, but we brought the mesh over, we folded it onto the wall. So this is a brick wall. And then we ran Tapcons through the mesh, through washers, and we were able to give this plaster something to really hang on to. And then we plastered it all up with our process then at that point. But essentially, I mean, this was all just completely suspended in a lot of areas. You can see how it had to go back to the brickwork right there.
I think worth pointing out that when you're up there and you're doing the assessment, you would do this like tap, tap, oh, that sound, tap, tap, that sounds hollow, tap, tap, it fell off in my hand.
Do you want to go
So the
upstairs?
thing, that the amount of people underneath,
Okay.
this amount of time.
Okay. Yep, let me see if I can roll through this.
It was amazing.
Okay, so one of the things we found, you see this crack going through? So there was settlement there in the building, and this is right where a valley comes down. This had been previously repaired, not correctly. We fixed all that. Let's keep, go ahead.
Was that on the north side or?
Yes, so that's above the choir. Is that the choir loft area? Is that what that's called? Yep, go ahead, Logan. Yeah, so this back area, I mean, this is how bad it was. When we walked up to it, this is what we saw. This is all hollow. We didn't realize this is completely hollow, but keep going, Logan. I'm going to try, and this is what it looked like. We started to pull it out, and no lath. This is all rotted away. It's extremely extreme. Even the nailers are gone. So this was ready to drop on someone, and then they put mesh. It's like Bryce says, just throw wire lath over it and plaster it up, put more weight on it. And that's what they did in the 90s. So I think you guys have seen it. Why don't we skip to the next one? So how did we fix that? This is called a helibar system. We work with engineers over in the UK to diagnose this, and they, on other projects, I'm sorry. But this is a product from the UK that is made for bridging running cracks coming down through. So we put these stainless steel ties in, we put a special mortar in there. Flip to the next one. You can see where we started building this back up. So we repaired the brick. Go ahead. And Sophia is tapping that away. Do you want to shoot to the next one? Okay, mixing up the plaster. I kind of went over this before, but it's good if you haven't seen this.
Plaster mixed up now.
The process. These are the base coats. This has hair in it.
The lath work.
You can see how I bridged with some mesh. Why don't you skip to the next one?
Deep in those areas there, so,
And then you're keying it in. So when you're on a vertical wall like this, it works really well for keying in. When you start getting to overhanging areas, I'd rather have a lot more areas where the plaster can key in instead of that small little key right there. So that's why we used the lath over top, and it really worked well. In fact, when we were upstairs, we could see where the plaster would squeeze through that mesh and wrap around on the backside, and it just looks like it's just a really great key to that plaster work. So go ahead. This is the base coats. I mean, this took like 3 weeks to do in this area. Keep going. Now, if this ever gets wet again, this is lime plaster. The moisture will move through the wall. Because there's acrylic paint over top, it may bubble the paint, but the plaster work will not fall apart like the gypsum that was there previous fell apart.
Right here, we actually did over some of the areas that the paint was flaking. We put an oil-based same blocking primer on that. You can see the ceiling.
You can see that brick area right there.
This area wasn't done yet.
Anytime we saw any kind of paint that was flaking off, we used our HEPA vacs and we took the paint right off. Dust control, paint control was very critical on this job. These are the different layers. This is the second layer where we're scarifying it, getting ready for the finish coat. Why don't you skip to the next slide there? I still have a bunch of slides to go through. I don't know, Bryce, if we'll be able to get up there. I feel like there's a lot of video pictures in here that should be seen. Yeah, here's your finish coat. So now the finish coat, this is the way traditionally they would have built like the old farmhouses around here. They used lime, and then they would, it's called water trowel. They would wet we have spray bottles now, but they would just take a brush and brush it on and then polish the finish. And then that's our before right there, what we found. And if you click on this, Logan, this was basically before we took the scaffolding down.
Water infiltration through the brick, and all the lath and all the furring strips were rotten, all the nailers that attached to the brickwork.
This is completely recreated here
Down in the brick. We
with
got
plaster.
a crack in the brick, put helibar ties in, and then rebuilt all the nailers, rebuilt all the lath, 3 coats of lime plaster over top, also rebuilt this whole ornament section of the fascia on top there.
And no one will ever know, except you guys. So it's just more pictures of everything cracked. Skip over to the next one, Logan. All right. So you guys get the idea what everything was like. This was before.
Kind of like the same thing. So
Right. Okay. Here's when we're in the mode. I think this is a video. You can just kind of click on one of these and just kind of see. You can leave it up just a little bit. Yeah, we're in the plaster mode now where we've stabilized everything and we're building plaster. We're putting it back. You can see our mesh here. This is, not sure what area that is. Oh, that's the corner over by the baptismal font area. Okay, good. Jump back to that picture. Let me just show them something. If you can see this right here, this material going around the outer edge. So you have your rebuilt lath areas, everything. We use tiny little staples to put those back in. Lot better than the nails they use, but then we coated the entire perimeter with, it's like a lime plaster glue that bridges dissimilar materials like gypsum. And so it bonds to that. So I wanted to seal up around everything before we put our coats of plaster on. That would give us a really good key. So click to the next one. Some examples of what was going on with the ceiling. Probably everyone wants to know about the gold leaf, and I did patch and repair. I learned how to gold leaf on this job. Actually, it's pretty easy. But anytime we came up against, you can see some of the scroll work here. Because this was all murals, if you remember. Anytime we came up against raw plaster like that, we had to seal it first with an oil-based paint. Because if you don't seal that, when you go to put mud on there, it will dissolve the surface. So oil-based painted everything. It was very stinky, so we had to put it on in a little bit each day. So just keep going. Part of the process, this is my wife and I, we'd come down like, you can turn it down a little bit, but we came down like this was Valentine's Day. We were spraying the plaster because after you take care of the plaster, you have to wrap it in burlap and you have to cure it. You can see how we have the burlap hanging there in certain areas. Did you see the horse bucket that was suspended there? That was a zip line that we got that is for fathers and kids. And I suspended it between the two. I figured it was tested for that. We suspended it between the two scaffoldings.
We were tempted to go in it.
I told them no, and they did. They listened. But we basically moved our plaster back and forth. We had a sink up there. It made it so much more efficient for doing this work, but it was a little job site innovation. Go ahead. And that's the area we fixed over there. You can see some of the in-between portions here. I think that's above Bryce, right there, above the pulpit area.
2 coats of rough plaster. It's ready for a finish coat. Fine cracks have been cut out and filled with tack coat material that will also be meshed, and then a fine coat of compound at the top. Fine cracks. Here.
Those were the major areas we did first. These areas like this. That way, everything took 30 days to cure. So we wanted those to cure for a good amount of time. They actually cured for several months, probably 2 months, before we put any paint over top. But you can see all the major areas that were being taken care of. Sophia there is working on scarifying, putting the scarification on before we put the finish coat. So go ahead and go to the next one. Now I think we actually are getting into, I've jumped ahead here. We're getting into painting work here. So we are painting, we're doing more finish work here. Go to the next. I think we're still doing pretty good on time. So when we're working here, these are some of the tools. You can see 3 German HEPA vacs here. These are Metabo vacuums. When we would mix, it's not like we're mixing in a big cloud of plasters going everywhere. And when we're using these tools, these are all special drywall sanders or special Festool sanders that draw everything right in. And that's how we were able to keep everything extremely clean while we were working. So go ahead and go to the next. These are some finished pictures now. This is almost towards the end. This is the ornament that we fixed, that we recast. You can see how this is all the lime plaster in here.
Lime plaster.
I guess I'm going to tell you.
This ornament, new replicated ornament. Worked in all these areas. This was all cracked up. Ceilings, did the ceilings. These were all cracked.
Every single ceiling was taken care of.
Main problem was a lot of these areas had plaster that was releasing. So this is all about, I'd say, 2 inches thick with plaster. And then we carve it all to these profiles so that everything matches up. The area of repair right here.
This is kind of review.
Back here had a lot of water infiltration through the brick, and all the labs.
Could you skip through this section here, Logan? I mean, you could actually go to the next in that video because it kind of shows the finish. Yeah, skip it ahead a little bit. Right there.
Right here?
Yep.
There's this area, substantial repairs here.
That was that area of brick, down to the brick there. Remember this area we were just working on?
There it is here.
This whole area, this is the north side. This had a lot of cracking in this area as well. Ceilings, light fixture mounts. You can see the ceilings, how we redid that. That was the area, that was the ceiling that was separated up in there. I'm still touching up the paint there in this picture, but this is over the font, the baptismal font.
This was only the first section of scaffolding.
We had to close that hatch each time. It was pretty, one thing you don't want to fall through.
Scaffolding there, the addendum work. repeated the same process over there and made all the repairs.
So why don't
We
you
also found
skip to the next one?
One of the
Okay, so just more pictures, finished pictures, video. Yep, you can see some of our tools that we were using there. Let's skip to the next